So, anyway, I'm kind of on a ramble here. I don't even know if I'm addressing your questions. Let me just pause right there and answer some of your questions.
I'm taking figure drawing for illustrators next year, or next term.
Which class?
I don't know. Actually, I don't remember the teacher's name, but is that okay? Is that...
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. There's a number of different teachers that teach figure drawing in the college, in the department, and everyone has their own approach and their own technique. I certainly wouldn't say one is more correct than the other, and I would never stand before anybody and say I'm the one with the right way to figure draw, right? I'd never stand up and say that, because, like I said, art is one of those creative, explorative processes where you come to understand what you love, right? And these artists that are teachers have figured out their own love for art and what works for them, okay? However, having said that, you need to recognize that animation instructors are more closely tied to what's required in animation out of your figure drawing. The next step beyond that is probably illustration faculty are probably the most closely associated with what's needed for entertainment industry. The next step beyond that is probably fine arts. Really, those are the only groups that really teach. Yeah. So if you were to choose a faculty in there, I certainly would never discourage a faculty from fine arts, because I do think they teach some valuable principles in there. But at this stage, when you're really trying to figure out what's needed to be in your figure drawings for animation, try to get into a class where the faculty is animation or illustration, and you'll be fine. Josh?
Do you have any good techniques or resources for studying line quality? How to get good line quality?
Line quality comes with pencil mileage.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. If you sit there and struggle to obtain good line quality, and that's what your focus is, you're kind of missing the point.
Mm-hmm.
No pun intended. Right? You're just kind of missing the real purpose of figure drawing. That just comes. That comes in time. So I wouldn't put a lot of emphasis in that as much as I would what I talked about before, that aesthetic quality, that creativity, right?
Mm-hmm.
That those kinds of attributes, and let the line quality come when it comes, because you could have beautiful line quality, but it's kind of like the analogy of icing on the cake, right? If you sit there and throw a ton of icing on top of a poorly baked cake, and it's hideous tasting, right? But if the cake is baked really well and you put icing on top, it just makes it nicer.
Okay.
But you don't ever put icing on
dough.
On dough, yeah. And you wouldn't eat it, right? No matter how good the icing is. Right? So that's kind of how I see line quality. Just let that come in time.
And then again, the other things to focus on would be the aesthetics and just the proportions, right, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, you can't help but take an academic approach. I know that it's the hardest thing for almost all figure drawing students, and I'm not just talking about pre-animation majors, I'm talking about animation majors and even graduates, right? To separate themselves from an academic approach to a more creative approach to drawing a figure. It's really hard to do that, because you sit there at the model and you want to get it just right. You want to get the head just right. You want to get that. You're studying it and you're measuring it. In time, I really don't think it's a conscious thing, but it's more of a process of time. After you've drawn the figure for a long time, you get a lot more relaxed and not so uptight about getting it just right. And when you get that relaxed, then the creative juices start to flow better. But in the beginning, and if you haven't had a lot of mileage in drawing the figure, you're just so uptight and trying so hard to make it accurate that it has no aesthetic value. It just a study, right? It shows off technique, but not necessarily creativity.
I was wondering if you had any advice on new techniques for deep figure drawing. Because right now I'm doing stick figure to begin, and I was wondering if you had any advice on that. Do that advice.
Well, I mean, short of taking a gesture drawing class, you know, that's really what you should do, because you're asking a question that takes me all semester to answer, right? Boy, how do you condense it in a nutshell? Swap up your tool. Change up your tool quite a bit. You know, go try a brush pen. Try a marker, try charcoal, try new pastel. Every time you try a new tool, it breaks you out of habits, bad habits. Right? It shatters them. And you think you've got something down, you got it going, and really what you're doing is creating a bad habit, like maybe just doing like stick figures, right? That's not necessarily a good habit. Okay? Finding the rhythms through the body is a better habit. Still using line, but the rhythms through the body are much more accurate and applicable to animation than just stick figures. But boy, that really is a hard question to answer. But if you switch up your tools a lot, it's going to frustrate you to death, right? But you'll shatter bad habits, and you'll open yourself up to learning faster. All right, try that. Okay. More about any other questions about figure drawing? You guys have? Yes.
Well, I was told by Leah that the biggest problem with my portfolio or my figure drawings is that I don't really know my anatomy very well. So do you know any good books that I should look up in terms of?
Yeah, there's quite a few out there. Anatomy for the Artist is the title. I forget who made it or published it. But that's a pretty effective book. Really, I mean, if you just go to the library and look up anatomy books, you don't necessarily need a book that's for the artist, but just understanding basic anatomy. I was a little shocked yesterday when we were in figure drawing class and the model was standing and we had back muscles there, and I asked the class, okay, what's this muscle right here in the back? No one knew. And I asked, what about this one? No one knew. Which one overlaps which? No one knew. Okay? I just all ran out of building screaming. I was so frustrated. Okay? You got to know that. You really do. You know, it empowers you. The knowledge will empower you to be creative.